Welcome, welcome. This is Melissa from Sagebrush Wellness, and thank you for joining me for our class today about power over diabetes. We're going to be talking about what we can do to really prevent and reverse type 2 diabetes. So as we go into this presentation, I want you to really lean into what we're going to be learning today. I'm going to be going through a ton of information and I'm going to be moving pretty quickly. And you'll probably have some questions come up and things you'd like to ask. So please have a piece of paper or some way to take notes, but also to write down questions that you want to ask me later on. So welcome, I'm so excited to be able to share this presentation with you. This is kind of a big deal, right? Diabetes is something that so many of us deal with. Our friends and family deal with this a lot. And so I want you to really be aware of the possibility and the, the ease of being able to recover from diabetes. So diabetes is a disease associated with consistently elevated blood glucose. But in short, diabetes is truly an insulin issue. This is the accepted definition, right? So I'm going to bust a myth right here at the opening of this webinar. It is actually a condition in which the cells of our bodies suffer from insufficient action of insulin. Insulin is a very critical metabolic hormone, right? And issues with blood sugar are really just a symptom of diabetes. And the real issue is that the core problem exacerbates the symptoms, and the complication that we hear so much about is insulin. Blood glucose is the body's main source of energy and obtained through our food, right? So it's a hormone that's produced by the pancreas. It then facilitates the glucose moving from food that's been broken down into the cells to be used as energy. Dysfunction occurs when the pancreas can't keep up with the sugar load coming into the body, or when the insulin isn't used effectively. As a result, the glucose stays in the blood, does not reach the cells, and is stored rather than used for energy. Let's talk through the process a bit more. The body, in its wisdom, knows that sugar in the blood is toxic. When a sugar molecule exits the digestive tract and enters the bloodstream, insulin, like a yellow taxi cab, picks up that sugar molecule and escorts it straight to the blood cells that are needing that energy. So given the choice, the body prefers fat as fuel. But as long as there's sugar in the bloodstream, that is the priority. There's even a protective mechanism in the body that shuts off the ability of the body to use fat for fuel if there's sugar to be used first, protecting us. Diabetes affects nearly every aspect of one's body system. It increases the risk of the following health complications: cardiovascular disease, stroke, neuropathy, kidney disease, gastroparesis, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, glaucoma, cataracts, cognitive decline, and cancer. Diabetes is classified in typically two classifications, type 1 and type 2. There's also a type, what we call 1.5, and I'm not going to comment on that one today, but I'll talk through type 1 and type 2 just briefly. So type 1 is an autoimmune disease where the ability to make insulin is nearly entirely dismantled. The cell's insulin-producing beta cells in the pancreas are damaged to the point of not being able to keep up with the sugar load in the body. Because this type of diabetes has an autoimmune component, my first question as a practitioner would be, what is triggering this imbalance in the immune system? So, fun fact, often when addressing this disease using food choices, whole body care, and addressing root causes and creating an environment of healing, the body can cope with this dynamic very, very well. There's been some really great research recently that's exploring different routes of reversal for this form of diabetes. And here's a cool article I think that might interest you. So go to chriskresser.com, which is CHRISKRESSER.com, and search for, could type 1 diabetes be reversible after all? All right, type 2. This is primarily what we'll be focusing on today, and it absolutely can be reversed, and a person's numbers can return to normal. It is a form of diabetes where the body eventually begins resisting the effects of insulin. This is called insulin resistance, or cannot produce enough insulin to maintain a normal blood sugar balance. This type may require insulin therapy while being addressed with lifestyle changes such as diet, exercise, and stress relief practices to turn back the clock. Before the onset of diabetes, there's a stage called insulin resistance. This refers to when the cells change their response to insulin. So let's draw kind of a word picture here. Our cells use sugar as a primary source of fuel, right? When the cells have been bombarded repeatedly, sometimes for years, they become literally less receptive to insulin. In response, the pancreas begins to produce more insulin to bring blood glucose levels down, right? Because, excuse me, there's more blood, more sugar being it's excreted, and it's staying in the blood system longer, and it's toxic. So yeah, this is how our bodies really work hard to protect us. Sugar begins being forced into the cell walls beyond their capacity. This excess sugar is then converted into triglycerides. Recognize this word from your blood tests? This becomes one of the first indications of inflammation or insulin resistance. But what happens to the extra insulin that was produced? That also is found circulating in the blood. This can develop over a long period and is fueled by lifestyle choices such as poor food choices or lack of physical activity. The cells will become increasingly more insulin resistant while insulin and glucose levels continue to rise. Eventually, the pancreas will be unable to react and will undergo significant damage. This is just a very, very clear picture of your body working so hard to support you and your lifestyle and what's coming into your world, but it just can only go so far. It's important to note that insulin resistance is always present before a diabetes diagnosis, sometimes 10 to 20 years prior, right? Insulin resistance can be present with normal blood glucose levels, but this increased demand for insulin leads to what's called pancreatic burnout. So some signs of insulin resistance include fatigue after meals, constant hunger, heightened cravings for sweets, and difficulty losing weight. Unfortunately, this is really common. A 2002 study recorded that 32.3% of the US population will experience insulin resistance. To know the prevalence of something so damaging yet avoidable is very disheartening. Just as a side note, I see this dynamic often in the clients that I serve who have autoimmune conditions. Remember, we're talking about insulin here, which is what? It's a hormone. It's part of our beautiful hormone dance that's happening in our body every day. Pardon the frog in my throat today. So, excess insulin is connected with almost all chronic and systemic diseases. So, some of the roles of insulin include increasing the liver, muscle, and fat tissue uptake of glucose, non-alcoholic fatty liver, anyone? This is something that really contributes to it. Increases fat storage. This is the body's way of protecting you, right? Increasing glycogen or stored glucose. Increases amino acid uptake by cells. Increases potassium uptake. Decreases the breakdown of proteins. This impairs the ability of the body to take on foods that support healthy hormone balance and production. Are you starting to see some interconnectedness beginning to happen here? It also decreases the breakdown of fat. So fat is our body's preferred fuel source. Often by the time this piece is happening, The liver and gallbladder have been affected and the bile flow is not happening optimally. These things need to happen well for fat breakdown. What does all of this mean then? Insulin resistance is associated with the following health concerns: metabolic syndrome, chronic kidney disease, coronary heart disease, Alzheimer's, which is another name for it is diabetes of the brain. There are certainly other factors involved, but this insulin resistance piece is big. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus, excuse me, all of these, like especially the rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and lupus, and metabolic syndrome, these are conditions that I've had a ton of experience with, and I see this piece is a very foundational piece. All right, insulin resistance is provoked by some factors such as, so these are some of the risk factors: obesity, specifically belly fat, high amounts of free fatty acids in the blood, high intake of added fructose. This is not the sugar naturally occurring in fruit. Increased oxidative stress and inflammation. This is often a root cause of autoimmune activation. Prolonged inactivity. If one has no energy and it's really hard to be motivated to get up and move, right? Compromised gut microbiome. This one is huge. This is also a root cause of autoimmune disease activation. So many times I see this with an overgrowth of bacteria that's feeding the hormone imbalance and triggering the immune response. Smoking tobacco. Please stop that. Habitual overeating, because the body still needs nutrients, but it isn't able to get those nutrients from your food, either from poor food choices or from a compromised digestive system. This can be a real issue. Nutrient poor diet, food choices, and genetics. I want to just speak to genetics for 2 seconds here. One of the cool things about our bodies is that, yes, we do get our genes from our mom and dad, right? But the activation of those genes depends largely on what we are doing to nourish our own bodies, whether it's food, like literal nutrients, whether it is how we take care of the stress response in our body, how hard we're working and not giving ourselves time to rest. All of these are big pieces. So there are several evidence-based ways to prevent and reverse insulin resistance. Some of these strategies are also well known as just basic things to protect against most diseases and the promotion of overall health, right? So I'm going to give you quite a list here, and if you need to make a list, please do so. First one is maintain a healthy weight, particularly by losing weight around the middle. Sometimes this is hard, really hard, because it may involve investigating what foods are causing inflammation in the digestive tract, working to heal the gut lining, and understanding the thought processes and stressors that brought you to this place, and changing one's behavior. Another one is to implement a healthy, balanced diet that supports your goals of recovery. So exercise regularly. Sometimes this is a one foot in front of the other situation, right? Especially when you're experiencing a lot of fatigue. Quit smoking. And this is a really hard one, but this habit puts an enormous strain on the pancreas. Eliminate sugar intake completely. No sugar. Eliminate all grains for a period of 3 months. Eliminate all dairy for the same period of time. Take supplements that support digestion and hormone balance. And if you are unsure of what could really be of a support to you there, please shoot me an email and I can help you with that. Improve sleep quality. Sleep hygiene is pivotal. And I'm actually going to, as a thank you from me for attending this class and to really support your journey to wellness, I'm going to be sending a handout to you that I use with my clients a lot just on this topic. What is sleep hygiene and how can I really implement that into my life? Manage stress. This can be mental, emotional stress, or it can be physiological stressors in the forms of bacterial overgrowths, viruses, yeast infections, heavy metals in the body, or toxic load. Be aware of your blood glucose, especially when you begin making choices that are changing, especially your food and your exercise, and really working on supporting your body. When you start to change those things for real, the inflammation in your body begins to go down and your sugar is going to fluctuate quickly. So please check your sugar often. As your need for meds decreases, have your doctor work closely with you to reduce meds as needed. So how do we know that the changes that we're making in our lifestyle is really making a difference? So blood glucose testing is an incredible tool to monitor the blood sugar shifts and how different foods and activities impact these levels. So you want to be doing, checking your blood glucose levels regularly, sometimes quite often. We already touched on this just a little bit, the importance of weight management, but when we're talking through, how to really help the body recover from this dynamic, this is really important. I want to dive into this for just a couple of minutes here. Bacteria in the gut, or the gut health connection. Bacteria plays a major role in disease, including diabetes. We often regard our gut health as a separate entity, reserved for matters of our digestive health, right? But our microbial balance in our digestive system is incredibly influential to our overall health. Excuse me. Autoimmunity in all forms is commonly linked to gut permeability, more commonly known as leaky gut. That being said, the key to health, and in this case, excuse me, diabetes, is through the gut. And here are 4 really simple ways to boost good gut health. So eating good, clean, whole foods is just key. Address food allergies and sensitivities. Replenish the body with essential nutrients. And this speaks back to what we were talking about earlier about the digestive system being really, really healthy and able to take up the nutrients that we are needing. Stay hydrated. This is so, so huge. And this is something that people often do not put enough emphasis on. We need to be hydrated by good old plain water for our bodies to work well. All right, so I'm going to give you just some very basic food things to think about. So one thing is food timing. How frequent are you eating, and what is the size of your meals? And here's a little bit of homework. I would like you to do something for me. Look up migrating motor complex. It is literally our bodies doing housekeeping in the digestive tract between meals. So this is key to a healthy digestive system and a bedrock concept for addressing imbalances like SIBO and remaining free of bacterial imbalance. We need to have those 3 to 4 hours of no food between meals. And this flies in the face of some of the common instructions given around diabetes and how we need to eat, right? So it's suggested to have small meals throughout the day to keep the blood sugar level. This is actually not helping. It is causing bacterial overgrowth and not giving the body time to clean house, which exacerbates one of the root causes of diabetes. So when you're changing this dynamic, one thing that you really need to lean into is protein. You need 20 to 30 grams of protein in the morning and good protein for lunch as well. That protein, and add in good fats if you can. Those foods are going to really give you a steady, slow burn of energy, and your glucose level is going to stay good and strong right through there. So addressing inflammatory foods. So processed foods or fast foods, anything that's pre-made is not going to be helpful to you. Also sugar, gluten, and dairy. We need to take those out. Sugar, forever, never, amen, please. And gluten and dairy, we need to take those out for at least 3 months. And then we can add them back in. So food sensitivities. this is a huge piece that can cause inflammation in the body and can be a root cause of diabetes. So many people have suggested that doing a good plant-based diet is great. It's good for some folks, but other folks need to have some good proteins as well. So I'm just going to give you some broad-based recommendations. So we want to increase good fat intake. And a great list for you, you can find it at draxe.com. So go to draxe.com and search for healthy fats. It's a really great list there. Need to increase fiber, preferably from veggies. More vitamin and mineral absorption. This is helpful if the impaired gut health is addressed first. Increase water intake. Find and eliminate what is causing inflammation in the body. This can take some investigation, but it is key to recovery. Completely eliminate sugar intake. And if you're wondering, oh, what am I going to use instead of sugar? Once again, go to draxe.com and do a search for sugar substitutes. Implement 3 to 4 hours between food. And ensure that your body is producing great stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and bile. And we're getting short on time, so I'm going to run through some of these things more quickly. Some of the essential nutrients that we can use to support our bodies through this healing process are ALA, or alpha lipoic acid. So, and this might be a great time to write down some of these things. This is an anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant, and it really helps turn sugar into energy within the cells. So helping the effectiveness of the nutrition get into the nutrition in the cells. So magnesium. This mineral is responsible for energy production and nerve function. This is huge. Most people are deficient in magnesium. If you have a question, the next time you have general blood work done, ask them to check RBC magnesium. Zinc. Zinc is especially important for the proper functioning of the pancreas and the immune system. B vitamins. So B vitamins are huge. They are the building blocks for producing, that our body needs to produce good hormones, right? And have a good hormone balance. What is insulin? It's a hormone. And some people get mixed up with what a hormone does. I think the simplest way to define that is hormones are messenger molecules, right? Chromium. Chromium is huge. This really helps the insulin receptor sites become more sensitive to insulin. Exercise. This is a big part, and I'm going to just flow through this kind of quickly simply because you guys know this already. Stress relief. Stress relief is huge. Making this a constant part of your life is pivotal. All right. So I really want to thank you for being present with me during this class. I'm so passionate about sharing this topic with people who are eager to transform their health and lives. I mean, we don't have to live with diabetes. So I also want to let you know that this class is a prerequisite for a group coaching program that I am running. So that program is a 3-month program called Reversing Diabetes. And the goal of this program is to help individuals who are ready to reverse their diabetes or pre-diabetes to do just that, right? So this class is for those who are eager to understand what their unique body needs. A lot of times people have known in their deepest heart that reversing diabetes or pre-diabetes is possible, but don't have the tools they need to really do that. This class is not for those who have type 1 diabetes or who are using insulin. These dynamics need to be addressed in a different way. If you're interested in joining me, please contact me at sagebrushwellness@gmail.com. I'll be screening the applicants really closely so that we can ensure the maximum outcome for each participant. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what this group coaching program entails. So you'll be getting 3 one-on-one sessions with me throughout the course. Additional individual coaching is available at my normal hourly rate. We'll be using initial blood work to create a baseline at the beginning, and then we'll be using more blood work at the end to really be able to gauge where we have come to, what we've accomplished. Individual recommendations for supplements and additional therapies as needed. Additional testing as needed. This goes into like the gut piece. If we need to do a GI map, then we can do that for you. We'll be meeting weekly as a group in a Zoom meeting, just like we're doing now, to discuss topics chosen to educate and empower you to not just recover, but to stay well. These weekly sessions will also include individual coaching as needed. In short, you get me and my expertise 100%, walking beside you as you reverse your diabetes. All right, well, thank you so much. I have a list of resources. If you're interested in those, I can pass those along. But thank you again for joining me, and happy healing. Have a lovely day.